The stars looked different when you were about to conquer them. Admiral Kyon-Su stood on the bridge of his massive warship and watched the blue star grow larger on the main screen. This was the Sol system, and somewhere around that star was a small world called Earth. The planet held billions of creatures called humans, and today those humans would learn what it meant to face the Vorthan Empire. Behind him, the bridge crew worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. They had done this many times before. 17 different worlds had fallen to their fleet in just 3 years. Some had fought back with primitive weapons, others had tried to negotiate, a few had simply surrendered without firing a shot. None of it had mattered in the end. The Vorthan Empire always won. Captain Hei-Wan looked up from her tactical display and turned toward the Admiral. Her face showed the same calm confidence that had carried them through every victory. "Sir, we are detecting the human home world," she said, in her steady voice. "Their technology appears to be exactly what our scouts reported. Primitive energy signatures, basic propulsion systems, and no signs of advanced defensive networks." Admiral Kyon-Su nodded slowly. The intelligence reports had been very clear about human capabilities. They had barely managed to send a few small ships to their nearest neighboring planets. Their weapons technology was hundreds of years behind Vorthan standards. Their ships moved slowly through space using chemical, rockets, and simple fusion drives. Most importantly, they had never encountered another intelligent species before today. They would have no idea what was about to happen to them. "How many ships do they have in the system?" asked the Admiral Lieutenant. Dongmin checked his sensor readings carefully. "We are detecting approximately 40 vessels, sir," he reported. "Most appear to be cargo ships or scientific research vessels. There are perhaps 10 ships that might be considered military, but they are very small. The largest human vessel we can see is roughly the size of one of our escort frigates." Admiral Kyon-Su allowed himself a small smile. His own fleet consisted of 847 warships. Each of his heavy cruisers was larger than anything the humans had ever built. His flagship, the Crimson Talon, was a massive dreadnought that could destroy entire cities with a single weapon. The humans simply had no idea what real military power looked like. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the human homeworld," said Dongmin. "They are attempting to communicate with us." The Admiral straightened his uniform and prepared to deliver the same speech he had given 17 times before. "Put them on screen," he commanded. Main display flickered and showed the face of a human male. The creature looked remarkably similar to several other species they had conquered. 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth arranged in the standard pattern. The human appeared to be middle-aged with graying hair and serious expression. When he spoke, his voice was calm and measured. "This is Admiral Wu Jin of Earth Defense Command," the human said. "We welcome you to our solar system, but we must ask about your intentions here. Your fleet appears to be much larger than any peaceful exploration mission would require." Admiral Kyon-Su stepped forward, so the human could see him clearly. "I am Admiral Kyon-Su of the Vorthan Imperial Navy," he announced. "You will surrender your world immediately and submit to Imperial authority. Any resistance will result in the complete destruction of your civilization. You have 1 standard hour to respond." The human named Wu Jin showed no sign of fear or panic. Instead, he seemed almost sad. "Admiral Kyon-Su, we cannot and will not surrender our world to foreign conquest," he said quietly. "However, we do not wish for unnecessary violence. Perhaps we can find another solution to this situation." Several bridge officers laughed quietly at the human's words. The idea that this primitive species could negotiate with the mighty Vorthan Empire was absurd. Admiral Kyon-Su raised his hand for silence. "There is no negotiation," he said firmly. "Submit now or be destroyed. Those are your only choices." The human admiral looked directly into the camera with eyes that seemed far older than his face. "Then I am afraid you have made a terrible mistake," he said softly. "We will defend ourselves." The transmission ended, and the main screen returned to showing the approaching star system. Lieutenant Dongmin checked his instruments with a puzzled expression. "Sir, something odd is happening," he reported. "We are detecting a single human vessel moving to intercept our fleet." Captain Hei-Wan looked at her own displays and confirmed the reading. "1 ship, sir," she said with obvious amusement. "It appears to be moving directly toward us. Estimated size puts it at roughly frigate class." The bridge crew began to chuckle among themselves. Admiral Kyan Su shook his head in disbelief. These humans were either incredibly brave or completely insane. Perhaps they simply did not understand the difference in power between their forces. "What is the vessel's designation?" he asked. Dong Min worked at his console for several moments. "The ship identifies itself as TDS Vindication," he reported. "Classification appears to be something called Peacekeeper Class. We are receiving another transmission, sir." Admiral Kyan Su gestured for the communication to be opened. This time, the screen showed a human female. She appeared younger than the previous admiral, with short dark hair and intense eyes. Her uniform was different as well, simpler and more practical looking. "This is Captain Sora of the Terran defense ship Vindication," she said, her voice carried absolute authority despite her apparent youth. "You have 30 seconds to turn around and leave our system, or we will consider this an act of war." The entire bridge fell silent for a moment. Then the laughter began. Even Admiral Kyan Su found himself smiling at the humans' audacity. One small ship against nearly 900 Vorthan warships. It was like watching an insect threaten a giant, "Captain Sora," he said, when the laughter died down. "You are facing the full might of the Vorthan Imperial fleet. Your single vessel cannot possibly threaten us. Stand down immediately and we may show mercy to your crew." The human captain tilted her head slightly as if considering his words. "Admiral Kyan Su, you have been warned," she said. "What happens next is entirely your choice. We strongly recommend that you choose wisely." The transmission ended again. Admiral Kyan Su turned to his tactical officer. "Captain Heywan, deploy the forward screening force," he ordered. 50 destroyers should be more than sufficient to deal with one human ship. Make it quick and clean. I want the rest of their fleet to see what happens when they resist us." Captain Heywan began issuing orders to the fleet commanders. Within minutes, 50 Vorthan destroyers were moving ahead of the main formation. Each destroyer was twice the size of the approaching human vessel. Their combined firepower could reduce a small moon to space. Dust Admiral Kyan Su watched the tactical display as his ships moved into attack. Formation. The human vessel simply maintained its course and speed. No evasive maneuvers, no desperate attempts to flee back to the safety of their home world. It just kept coming directly toward them as if nothing had changed. "Perhaps they have malfunctioned," suggested Lieutenant Dong Min. "Their ship might be damaged and unable to respond properly. Or maybe they are simply paralyzed by fear," added another officer. Admiral Kyan Su studied the display more carefully. Something about this situation felt wrong, but he could not identify what it was. The human ship was clearly outmatched and hopelessly outnumbered. Yet the captain had seemed completely confident when she delivered her warning, almost as if she knew something that he did not. "Sir, the destroyers are moving into firing range," reported Captain Heywan. "Commander Tae-jun requests permission to engage the target." Admiral Kyan Su nodded slowly. "Permission granted," he said. "End this quickly." The tactical display showed weapon locks being established on the human vessel. In seconds, the engagement would be over and they could proceed with the invasion, but as he watched, something impossible happened. The human ship seemed to shimmer like heat waves rising from hot metal. For just a moment, it appeared to be in two places at once. Then the sensor readings began to change in ways that made no sense at all. "What is happening?" demanded Admiral Kyan Su. Lieutenant Dongmin stared at his instruments with growing confusion. "Sir, the energy readings from the human ship just increased by several thousand%, he reported. "But that should be impossible given their technology level. The power signature we are detecting now exceeds our own flagship." Captain Heywan checked and rechecked her tactical systems. "Sir, I am reading massive gravitational distortions around the human vessel," she said. "Space itself appears to be bending in that area. This cannot be accurate." Admiral Kyan Su felt a cold sensation spreading through his chest. Something was very, very wrong with this entire situation. "All ships maintain formation," he ordered. "Continue the attack." But even as he spoke, he knew that everything had changed. The humans were not what they appeared to be, and his fleet was about to learn exactly what that meant. Commander Tae-jun had destroyed hundreds of enemy vessels during his career with the Vorthan Imperial Navy. He commanded the destroyer squadron from his flagship, the Relentless Spear, and had never failed to complete a mission. Today should have been the easiest victory of his life. One small human ship against 50 of the Empire's finest destroyers. The odds were so completely in his favor that this would barely qualify as combat. Yet something felt wrong about the entire situation: his weapons. Officer Jeho kept rechecking his targeting systems and frowning at the displays. "Sir, the human vessel is not behaving like any ship I have ever encountered," he reported. "It maintains perfect course and speed despite being locked onto by multiple targeting systems. Most ships would at least attempt evasive maneuvers by now." Commander Tae-jun studied the tactical readout on his main screen. The human ship called Vindication continued its approach without any sign of concern. Its energy signature had stabilized at levels that should have been impossible for such a small vessel. More troubling was the way space itself seemed to ripple around the ship like water disturbed by a stone. "Range to target," asked the commander. 15,000 kilometers. "And closing, sir," replied Jeho. "All weapons are locked and ready to fire. The target shows no defensive screens or armor plating. This should be over in seconds." Commander Tae-jun opened a communication channel to the rest of his squadron. "All ships prepare to fire on my command," he announced. "Target the human vessel with everything we have. Make this quick and clean." Acknowledgements came back from all 49 other destroyer captains. Nearly 2,000 weapon systems were now aimed at the single human ship. The combined firepower of his squadron could level entire cities. Against one small vessel, it was massive overkill. But Admiral Kion-su had ordered a demonstration of Vorthon power. The humans needed to understand exactly what they were facing. Fire, commanded Tae-jun. What happened next would be remembered by every survivor for the rest of their lives. The moment the weapons fired, the human ship simply vanished. Not destroyed, not disabled, just gone as if it had never existed. For a split second, the bridge crew stared at empty space where their target had been. Then alarms began screaming throughout the ship. "Commander, emergency report," shouted his sensor operator. "The human vessel has appeared directly behind Destroyer Group 3. "How is that possible?" demanded Tae-jun. "No ship can move that fast." Before anyone could answer, the tactical display showed something even more impossible. The human ship was somehow present in multiple locations simultaneously. Sensor readings indicated it was behind Group 3, above Group 7, and below Group 2, all at the same time. "Sir, our weapons are shutting down," reported Jeho with panic in his voice. "All targeting systems are going offline. I cannot explain what is happening, Commander." Tae-jun watched in growing horror as ship after ship in his squadron began reporting the same problems: weapon systems, failing engines, shutting down life support, flickering, but the ships themselves remained completely intact. No explosions, no hull breaches, no signs of destructive weapons fire. The human vessel was somehow disabling his entire force without actually attacking them. "Communications are down, sir," reported his signals. "Officer, wait, I am receiving a transmission. Source appears to be the human ship." The main screen flickered and showed the interior of what was obviously an alien bridge, but it looked nothing like the primitive technology they had expected from humans. Clean lines, flowing surfaces, and displays that seemed to project information directly into the air. The human captain appeared on screen looking completely calm and professional. "This is Captain So-ra of the TDS Vindication," she said. "Your weapons have been disabled for your own protection. Please remain calm while diplomatic channels are established. Your crews are in no danger." Commander Tae-jun tried to respond, but his communication systems were no longer functioning. He could receive transmissions, but could not send them. Around him, his bridge. Crew worked frantically at their stations trying to restore basic ship functions. Nothing responded to their commands. The human ship had somehow taken control of 50 Vorthon destroyers without firing a single destructive shot. "Sir, I am detecting massive energy buildups throughout the Sol system," reported his science officer, Min-ho. "Previously hidden power sources are becoming visible. The readings suggest hundreds of additional vessels." Commander Tae-jun stared at the sensor display in disbelief. What had appeared to be an empty star system defended by only 40 primitive ships was revealing itself to be something entirely different. Energy signatures were appearing everywhere as cloaking systems deactivated. Each new contact showed power levels that exceeded anything in Vorthon databases. "How many ships?" he asked quietly. "Current count is 412, sir," replied Min-ho. "And the readings are still climbing. Some of these vessels appear to be larger than our heaviest dreadnoughts. The implications hit Commander Taejun like a physical blow. The humans had not sent one small ship to face his squadron. They had sent one small ship to give his squadron a chance to surrender. The real human fleet had been watching from concealment this entire time. On the main screen, Captain. Sora continued her calm explanation. Commander Taejun. Your ships are being held in a stasis field that will prevent any hostile actions, she said. Your life support systems will continue to function normally. However, your weapons and engines will remain offline until this situation is resolved. Please understand that we take no pleasure in this action. We had hoped your fleet would choose to leave peacefully. Commander Taejun realized with growing dread that the human somehow knew his name. She was addressing him personally despite never having communicated with his ship before. These creatures had been monitoring Vorthon transmissions and probably knew everything about his squadron. Sir, the stasis field is unlike anything in our technology database, reported Minho. It appears to manipulate gravitational forces at the quantum level. The level of understanding required to create such a field suggests a civilization thousands of years ahead of us. The commander slumped in his command chair as the full scope of the disaster became clear. His squadron had not encountered primitive humans defending their homeworld. They had stumbled into a trap set by beings so advanced that Vorthon technology looked like stone tools by comparison. The human captain continued speaking with the same professional courtesy. Your admiral will be receiving a communication shortly, she said. We hope that he will choose to withdraw your forces rather than escalate this situation further. The Terran Defense Force has no desire to harm your people, but we will not allow aggression against our civilization. Commander Taejun tried to imagine explaining this catastrophe to Admiral. Kion Su-50 destroyers disabled by a single enemy vessel in less than 4 seconds. No casualties, no destruction, just complete and utter defeat. The Empire had never experienced anything like this in its entire history. Sir, I am detecting movement. From the main Vorthon fleet, reported his tactical officer, additional squadrons are being deployed toward our position. Commander Taejun felt a surge of hope. Perhaps Admiral Kion-su could find a way to rescue them. The main fleet included heavy cruisers and battleships with far more firepower than his destroyers. Surely the humans could not disable such a large force. But even as he watched the sensor readings, he knew it was a false hope. If the humans possessed technology this advanced, then ship size and numbers would not matter. They had already demonstrated the ability to manipulate space and time itself. What could conventional weapons do against enemies who could bend reality? On screen, Captain Sora seemed to sense his thoughts. Commander, we are aware that your admiral is sending additional forces, she said. Please understand that this will not change the outcome. We do not wish to escalate this conflict, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. The choice belongs to your leadership. The transmission ended, leaving Commander Taejun alone with his disabled squadron. Around him, his crew worked desperately to restore their systems, but nothing responded. They were completely helpless, floating in space at the mercy of beings they had vastly underestimated. Sir, incoming transmission from Admiral Kion-su announced his communications officer. The main screen showed the bridge of the flagship Crimson Talon. Admiral Kion-su appeared calm, but his eyes showed barely controlled fury. Commander Taejun, report your status immediately, he demanded. What is your tactical assessment of the enemy vessel? Commander Taejun took a deep breath and prepared to deliver the worst news of his career. Sir, the human ship has disabled our entire squadron. He reported, our weapons engines and most systems are offline. The enemy vessel appears to possess technology far beyond our current understanding. I recommend immediate withdrawal from this system. Admiral Kion-su stared at him for several long moments. Commander, you are telling me that one human ship has defeated 50 Vorthon destroyers, he said slowly, without sustaining any damage or casualties on either side? That is correct, sir, replied Taejun. The humans have also revealed the presence of several hundred additional vessels, each showing energy signatures that exceed our most powerful ships. Sir, we are facing a civilization that makes our technology look primitive. Admiral Kion-su closed his eyes and appeared to be considering his options. When he spoke again, his voice carried the weight of command decisions that would affect millions of lives. Hold your position, Commander. Admiral Kion Su paced the bridge of his flagship while trying to process what had just happened to his forward Squadron 50 destroyers, disabled in seconds by a single human vessel. It should have been impossible. Every piece of intelligence about human capabilities suggested they were centuries behind Vorthon technology, yet somehow one of their ships had demonstrated power levels that exceeded anything in Imperial databases. Captain Hai Wan stood at her tactical station reviewing sensor data from the engagement. Her usually confident expression had been replaced by deep concern. "Sir, the energy readings from that human ship are completely outside our understanding of physics," she reported. "The power output we detected should have required a reactor core larger than their entire vessel. Additionally, the gravitational distortions suggest manipulation of space-time itself." Admiral Kion Su stopped pacing and turned to face his science officer, Lieutenant Bo Kyung. "What is your analysis of their technology?" he demanded. The young officer looked up from his instruments with obvious confusion. "Sir, based on our observations, the humans appear to have mastered forces that we barely know exist," he said carefully. "The stasis field holding Commander Taejun's squadron operates on principles that violate several fundamental laws. If our readings are accurate, they have found ways to control gravity, quantum mechanics, and possibly even time." The Admiral felt a cold sensation in his stomach. This was not what they had expected to find in the Sol system. The humans were supposed to be a primitive species, ripe for conquest. Instead, they appeared to possess technology that made the mighty Vorthan Empire look like barbarians. "Sir, we are receiving another transmission from the human homeworld," announced Lieutenant Dongmin. "Source appears to be the same admiral who contacted us earlier." Admiral Kion Su straightened his uniform and prepared for another diplomatic exchange. He hoped the human leadership would be more reasonable than their ship captains. "Put him on screen," he ordered. The main display showed the same human male they had spoken with before. Admiral Wu Jin appeared even more serious than during their first conversation. When he spoke, his voice carried a note of sadness that was somehow more unsettling than anger would have been. "Admiral Kion Su, we monitored the engagement between your destroyers and our peacekeeper vessel," he said. "As you can see, your forces have been disabled but not destroyed. Your crews are unharmed and will remain safe as long as no further aggressive actions are taken." Admiral Kion Su leaned forward toward the screen. "Admiral Wu Jin, your ship has committed an act of war against the Vorthan Empire," he declared. "Release my vessels immediately or face the consequences." The human admiral shook his head slowly. "Admiral, what you have witnessed today was not an act of war," he replied. "It was an act of mercy. The TDS Vindication is classified as a peacekeeper vessel designed to end conflicts with minimal casualties. If we had intended to destroy your ships, they would no longer exist." Something in the human's tone made Admiral Kion Su pause. There was no boasting or threatening in his words, just a simple statement of fact delivered with quiet certainty. "You claim your single ship could have destroyed 50 of our destroyers," said Kion Su. "I find that difficult to believe." Admiral Wu Jin touched something on his control panel. The main screen split to show a tactical display of the Sol system. Hundreds of energy signatures appeared as previously hidden, human vessels decloaked. Each contact showed power readings that dwarfed the largest Vorthan. "Battleships! Admiral, we have been monitoring your fleet since you entered our outer system 6 hours ago," said Wu Jin. "We could have destroyed every one of your ships before you knew we existed. Instead, we sent a single peacekeeper to give you the opportunity to leave without bloodshed." Admiral Kion Su stared at the tactical display in growing horror. The humans had not been caught off guard by their invasion. They had been watching and waiting. The entire Vorthan fleet was surrounded by enemies they had never detected. "This is impossible," he said. "Our intelligence reports indicated that humans had never encountered another species. You should have no knowledge of warfare or military technology." The human admiral's expression grew. "Even sadder, Admiral Kion Su. We have been aware of galactic civilization for over 200 years. He said. "We have watched as species after species has fallen to conquest and warfare. We chose a different path. We developed our technology in secret while hoping that someday the galaxy might find peace. Admiral Kion-su felt his worldview crumbling around him. Everything the Empire believed about human civilization was wrong. They were not primitive newcomers to galactic society. They were an advanced species that had been hiding in plain sight. "Why?" he asked. "Why hide your capabilities? With technology like this, you could have conquered half the galaxy." Admiral Wu Jin was quiet for several moments before responding. "Admiral, we have seen what conquest brings," he said finally. "We have watched civilizations destroy themselves in endless wars. We chose to remain hidden until such time as the galaxy was ready for a better way. Unfortunately, your presence here suggests that time has not yet come." Captain Hei-Wan stepped closer to Admiral Kion-su. "Sir, what are your orders?" she asked quietly. "Do we withdraw, or do we fight?" Admiral Kion-su looked at the tactical display showing hundreds of human vessels, each one represented technology beyond Vorthan understanding. A direct confrontation would not be a battle. It would be a massacre, but retreating would mean admitting that the mighty Vorthan Empire had been defeated by a species they had dismissed as primitive. The political consequences of such an admission could destroy his career. "Admiral Wu Jin, I am prepared to offer you terms for the release of my ships," he said. The human admiral shook his head. "Admiral, your ships will be released when your fleet withdraws from our system," he replied. "There are no terms to negotiate. You came here to conquer our world. We are asking you politely to leave." Admiral Kion-su felt his anger rising. No species had ever dared to dictate terms to the Vorthan Empire. "And if we refuse," he demanded. Admiral Wu Jin's expression did not change. "Then we will defend ourselves," he said simply. "Admiral, I want you to understand something very important. The vessel that disabled your destroyers is not a warship. It is a peacekeeping craft, designed to end conflicts without loss of life. Our actual military vessels are considerably more capable." The implications of that statement hit Admiral Kion-su like a physical blow. If the ship that had effortlessly defeated 50 destroyers was not even a warship, then what were the humans actually capable of? "How many?" he asked quietly. "How many real warships do you have?" Admiral Wu Jin hesitated before answering. "Admiral, we have enough ships to protect our world and our people," he said. "We hope that will be sufficient." On the tactical display, more contacts were appearing as additional human vessels revealed themselves. The count was now approaching 600 ships, each one representing technology that could reshape galactic civilization. Admiral Kion-su realized that his fleet was not just outmatched. They were facing beings so advanced that the gap might as well be infinite. "Sir, incoming transmission from the human peacekeeper," announced Lieutenant Dong-min the screen. Switched to show Captain So-Ra aboard her vessel. She appeared as calm and professional as before. "Admiral Kion-su, we are detecting additional Vorthan forces moving to engage our position," she said. "I want to be very clear about something. The TDS Vindication can easily disable your entire fleet without causing casualties. However, if you force us to take defensive action, the outcome may be different. Please reconsider your course of action." Admiral Kion-su studied the young human captain. I was not making threats or attempting to intimidate him. She was simply explaining the situation as clearly as possible. "Captain So-Ra, you are asking me to retreat from a single enemy vessel," he said. "The Vorthan Empire does not flee from battle." Captain So-Ra nodded slowly. "Admiral, I understand your position," she replied, "but you need to understand ours as well. We have no desire to harm your people, but we will not allow our world to be conquered. The choice is yours." The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Kion-su alone with the most difficult decision of his career. Around him, his bridge crew waited for orders. They trusted him to lead them to victory as he had done so many times before. But this time, victory might not be possible. This time, they were facing an enemy that could bend reality itself. Admiral Kion-su looked at the tactical display one more time. 800 Vorthan warships against 600 human vessels. Under normal circumstances, it might have been an even fight, but these were not normal circumstances. The humans possessed technology that made conventional warfare obsolete. Yet he was a Vorthan admiral, Retreat was not in his vocabulary. "Captain Haywan, deploy all heavy cruiser squadrons," he ordered. "We will show these humans what the Imperial Navy is capable of." Captain Haywan hesitated for just a moment. "Sir, are you certain this is the best course of action?" she asked. "Perhaps we should consider Admiral Wu Jin's offer." Admiral Kion-su turned to face her with eyes that burned with determination. "Captain, the Empire has never retreated from battle," he said. "I will not be the first admiral to break that tradition. Deploy the squadrons." As the orders went out across the fleet, Admiral Kion-su wondered if he was about to lead his people to their deaths, but honor demanded that he try, even against impossible odds, even against enemies who could reshape the laws of physics. The Vorthan Empire would fight. The heavy cruiser squadrons of the Vorthan Imperial Fleet represented the pinnacle of military engineering. Each vessel stretched over 2 kilometers in length and carried enough firepower to level continents. Admiral Kion-su watched from his flagship as 120 of these massive warships moved into attack formation. If the humans wanted a demonstration of Imperial power they were about to receive, one Captain Haywan coordinated the squadron deployments with practiced efficiency. "Sir, all heavy cruisers are in position," she reported. "Fleet Admiral Sung-ho is requesting permission to engage the human vessels." Admiral Kion-su nodded grimly. "Permission granted," he said. "All squadrons are free to engage at will." As the order went out across the fleet, Lieutenant Bo-kyung continued monitoring the strange energy readings from the human ships. "Sir, the gravitational distortions around the enemy vessels are increasing," he reported. "I am detecting massive power buildups across their entire fleet. Whatever they are preparing to do, it will happen soon." Admiral Kion-su studied the tactical display as his cruisers closed the distance to the human formation. The enemy ships made no attempt to evade or retreat. They simply maintained their positions as if waiting for something. "Range to target?" asked the admiral. 50,000 kilometers and closing, sir," replied Captain Haywan. "All squadrons report weapons locked and ready. We can begin the bombardment at your command, Admiral." Kion-su took a deep breath. Once this engagement began, there would be no turning back. The Empire would either achieve a decisive victory or face its first major defeat in over a century. "All ships commence firing," he ordered. What happened next would haunt the survivors for the rest of their lives. The moment the Vorthan weapons fired, reality seemed to bend and twist around the human ships. Space itself rippled like water as gravitational waves swept across the battlefield. The massive energy beams and projectiles from the Imperial fleet simply vanished as they approached the enemy vessels, not blocked or deflected, but absorbed into folds in space-time that opened and closed like breathing. "Sir, our weapons are having no effect," reported Captain Haywan with growing alarm. "The enemy appears to be manipulating local space to redirect our attacks. This should not be possible." Admiral Kion-su watched in disbelief as the most powerful weapons in the Imperial arsenal proved completely useless. Humans were not even trying to dodge or return fire. They were simply making his attacks cease to exist. "Continue firing," he ordered. "Concentrate all weapons on a single target." The fleet focused their combined firepower on one human vessel. Enough destructive energy to shatter moons poured toward the enemy ship. The result was exactly the same. The attacks simply vanished into twisted space around the target. Lieutenant Bo-kyung stared at his instruments with wide eyes. "Sir, the energy our fleet is producing is not being destroyed," he reported. "It appears to be stored somehow. The gravitational fields around the human ships are containing massive amounts of power." Before Admiral Kion-su could respond to this impossible news, the human fleet finally acted. Captain Sora's voice came over the communication system with the same professional calm she had shown before. "Admiral Kion-su, you have fired upon Terran Defense Force vessels," she announced. "This constitutes an act of war. We are now authorized to respond with appropriate defensive measures." The tactical display exploded with activity as the human ships began to move. But they did not move like any vessels the Vorthans had ever encountered. They folded space around themselves, appearing instantly at new locations without crossing the distance between. Within seconds, the entire human fleet had repositioned itself throughout the Imperial formation. Each Vorthan ship now found itself facing multiple human vessels at point blank Range, sir, enemy ships have appeared inside our formation, reported Captain Haywan. They are surrounding our vessels. How did they move so quickly? Admiral Kion Su realized with growing horror that the humans had just demonstrated tactical capabilities. That made conventional space warfare obsolete. His ships were designed to fight at long range using their superior firepower. But when the enemy could appear anywhere, instantly range became meaningless. All ships prepare for close combat, he ordered. Deploy defensive screens and engage at will. But before his ships could respond, the humans struck. What they did next could barely be called an attack. The human vessels simply touched each Vorthon ship with beams of strange energy. The effect was immediate and total. Every weapon system, every engine, every offensive capability aboard the Imperial ships simply stopped working. The vessels remained intact with life support and basic systems functioning, but they had been rendered completely helpless in a matter of seconds. Sir, all squadrons are reporting total systems failure, announced Captain Haywan. Weapons offline, engines, dead, navigation systems unresponsive. The ships are still space-worthy but cannot fight or maneuver. Admiral Kion Su slumped in his command chair as the full scope of the disaster became clear. 120 heavy cruisers disabled without a single casualty. The most powerful battle fleet in Vorthon history had been neutralized as easily as children's toys, Lieutenant. Dongmin looked up from his communication station with confusion. Sir, I am receiving a transmission from Earth, he reported. It appears to be from their Planetary Defense Command. Admiral Kion Su gestured weakly for the communication to be opened. Main screen showed Admiral Wu Jin sitting calmly in what appeared to be an underground command center. Admiral Kion Su. I hope you now understand why we asked you to leave peacefully, he said. Your fleet has been disabled using non-lethal defensive measures. No one has been harmed, but your ships can no longer pose a threat to our world. Admiral Kion Su found his voice after several attempts. How? He asked. How is this possible? Your technology should not exist. Admiral Wu Jin leaned forward. Slightly, Admiral, our civilization has had over 2 centuries to develop without the distractions of warfare, he said. While other species fought endless battles, we focused on understanding the fundamental forces of the universe. The results speak for themselves. Captain Haywan stepped closer to Admiral Kion Su. Sir, the remainder of our fleet is requesting orders, she said quietly. Do we attempt to rescue the disabled squadrons? Admiral Kion Su looked at the tactical display. His remaining ships included battleships and his own massive dreadnought. Perhaps they could still salvage something from this catastrophe, but even as he considered the option, he knew it was hopeless. If the humans could disable heavy cruisers so easily, then larger ships would fare no better. Admiral Wu Jin, what are your terms for the release of my fleet? He asked. The human admiral shook his head. Admiral, we are not holding your fleet prisoner, he replied. Your ships will be repaired and returned to full functionality. All we ask is that you leave our system and do not return? Admiral Kion Su stared at the screen in confusion. You are not demanding tribute or territory, he asked. No reparations or concessions. We want nothing from your empire except to be left alone, said Admiral Wu Jin. We have no interest in conquest or expansion. We simply wish to live in peace. The concept was so foreign to Imperial thinking that Admiral Kion Su struggled to understand it. Every species they had encountered wanted something: territory, resources, power, revenge. But the humans seemed to genuinely want nothing except to be left alone. Admiral, if your technology is this advanced, why have you remained hidden? He asked. You could rule the entire galaxy. Admiral Wu Jin's expression grew. Sad. Admiral, we have watched galactic civilization for 2 centuries, he said. We have seen what happens when advanced species impose their will on others. War, conquest, suffering, and endless cycles of revenge. We chose a different path, Lieutenant. Bo Kyung interrupted with an urgent report. Sir, I am detecting massive energy buildups from the remaining human vessels, he said. Power levels are increasing beyond anything we have recorded. What are they preparing to do? On screen, Admiral Wu Jin seemed to hear the question. Admiral Kion Su. You still have several hundred ships in our system, he said. Our defensive fleet is prepared to disable those vessels as well, if necessary. However, we would prefer to avoid additional conflict. Will you order your remaining forces to withdraw? Admiral Kion Su looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. They had followed him into battle without question. Now they were looking to him to get them home safely. The pride of the Vorthan Empire demanded that he fight to the last ship, but the lives of his people demanded that he accept reality. The humans possessed technology that made resistance impossible. Continuing to fight would only result in the complete destruction of his fleet. Admiral Wu Jin, I am prepared to order the withdrawal of all Imperial forces, he said slowly. But I need guarantees that my disabled ships will be restored. The human admiral nodded. Admiral, you have my word that all your vessels will be repaired, and your crews return safely, he said. We take no pleasure in this conflict. We simply want it to end. Admiral Kion Su closed his eyes and made the most difficult decision of his career. All ships prepare for immediate withdrawal from the Sol system. He announced over the fleet communication system, this engagement is terminated. As his remaining vessels began their retreat, Admiral Kion Su wondered how he would explain this defeat to the Imperial Council. The mighty Vorthan fleet had been humbled by a species they had dismissed as primitive, and the humans had done it without destroying a single ship or killing a single. Admiral Kion Su stood alone in his private quarters aboard the Crimson Talon as his fleet limped away from the Sol system. Through the viewport, he could see the damaged Vorthan ships being carefully repaired by human engineering vessels. True to their word, the humans were restoring every disabled ship to full operational status. They worked with impossible efficiency, using technology that seemed to reshape matter itself. Captain Heywan entered the quarters carrying a data pad with the final casualty reports. Sir, all ships are accounted for, she reported. Total casualties, 0 deaths, 0 injuries. The humans have repaired every vessel in our fleet. We are ready to depart for Imperial space. Admiral Kion Su nodded slowly, without turning. From the viewport, Captain, in your report to Imperial Command, what will you say about this engagement? He asked. Captain Heywan was quiet for several moments. Sir, I will report exactly what happened, she said finally. The truth, however, impossible. It may seem. The humans possess technology that makes our most advanced weapons look like primitive tools. They could have destroyed our entire fleet but chose mercy instead. Admiral Kion Su finally turned to face his tactical officer. Captain, do you understand what this means for the Empire? He asked. We have built our civilization on the belief that superior firepower ensures victory. Today we learned that there are forces in the universe beyond our comprehension. The Admiral moved to his desk and activated a secure communication terminal. On the screen appeared the stern face of Imperial High Command Fleet Admiral Namgyu looked expectant as he waited for the mission report, Admiral Kion Su report, on the status of the Sol system conquest, he demanded. Admiral Kion Su took a deep breath and prepared to deliver news that would shake the foundations of the Empire. Sir, the conquest has failed, he said. The human species possesses technology far beyond our current capabilities. They have demonstrated the ability to disable our entire fleet without casualties. Fleet Admiral Namgyu leaned forward with a dangerous expression. Admiral, are you telling me that a primitive species has defeated the Imperial Navy? He asked. Explain how this is possible. Admiral Kion Su activated a holographic display showing sensor readings from the engagement. Sir, the humans have been concealing their true capabilities for over 2 centuries, he reported. They possess the ability to manipulate space-time, gravity, and possibly other fundamental forces. Our weapons proved completely ineffective against their defensive systems. Fleet Admiral Namgyu studied the impossible energy readings with growing alarm. These power signatures exceed anything in our databases, he said. How many ships do they have? Current estimates suggest approximately 600 vessels, sir, replied Kion Su. Each one appears to be more advanced than our most powerful dreadnoughts. But, sir, there is something else. Something more important than their military capabilities. Fleet Admiral Namgyu raised an eyebrow. Explain. Admiral Kion Su paused as he tried to find words for what he had witnessed. Sir, the humans could have destroyed our entire fleet in minutes, he said. Instead, they chose to disable our ships and repair them. They demanded nothing in return except that we leave their system. They appear to have no interest in conquest or expansion. They simply want to be left alone. The concept seemed to confuse Fleet Admiral Nam Gyu as much as it had confused Kaiyan Su. A species with that level of technology and no desire for conquest, he mused. This changes everything. Admiral, return to Imperial space immediately. This information must reach the High Council. The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Kaiyan Su alone with his thoughts. Through the viewport, he could see the last of the human engineering vessels completing their repairs. Soon his fleet would begin the long journey home. Carrying news that would transform galactic politics, Lieutenant Dongmin appeared at the quarters entrance. "Sir, we are receiving a final transmission from the human homeworld," he announced. Admiral Kaiyan Su returned to the bridge where the main screen showed Admiral Wu Jin. The human leader appeared tired but not triumphant. "Admiral Kaiyan Su, I want you to know that we take no pleasure in this outcome," he said. "We had hoped that someday the galaxy might evolve beyond the need for conquest. Perhaps this incident will encourage such evolution." Admiral Kaiyan Su found himself genuinely curious about these strange beings. "Admiral Wu Jin, may I ask what your people intend to do now?" he said. "Will you remain hidden or reveal yourselves to galactic civilization?" The human admiral considered the question carefully. "Admiral, that decision has not yet been made," he replied. "We will continue to monitor galactic affairs. If other species choose the path of peace, we may emerge from concealment. If warfare continues, we will remain hidden and protect ourselves as necessary." Admiral Kaiyan Su realized he was looking at the future of galactic civilization. The humans possessed technology that could end all warfare or enforce their will across the galaxy, yet they chose to remain in the shadows, hoping that others would find wisdom. "Admiral Wu Jin, I give you my word that the Vorthan Empire will not return to your system," he said, "but I cannot speak for other species. What will you do if others attempt what we have tried?" Admiral Wu Jin's expression grew somber. "Admiral, we hope that will not be necessary," he said, "but if it becomes required, we will defend ourselves. The galaxy should understand that we seek peace, but we are not defenseless." The transmission ended, and Admiral Kaiyan Su ordered his fleet to jump to hyperspace as the stars shifted around them. He reflected on everything that had changed. The Vorthan Empire had always believed that military might determine the fate of civilizations. They had conquered 17 species through superior firepower and tactical skill. Today they had learned that there were beings in the universe who could make their greatest achievements look like children's games. But more importantly, they had learned that such beings could choose mercy over destruction. Captain Heywan approached with the navigation report. "Sir, we will reach Imperial space in 6 standard days," she announced. "All ships are maintaining formation and repairs are holding." Admiral Kaiyan Su nodded absently. "Captain, when we return home, everything will change," he said. "The Empire will have to reconsider its entire approach to galactic expansion. We can no longer assume that superior technology guarantees victory. There are forces in the universe that we barely understand." Captain Heywan looked thoughtful. "Sir, do you think other species know about human capabilities?" she asked. "Or are we the first to discover the truth?" Admiral Kaiyan Su considered. "The question, Captain. If other species knew what we know today, the galaxy would look very different," he said. "I suspect we are indeed the first to learn this lesson. The question is what we do with this knowledge." As his fleet continued its journey, Home Admiral Kaiyan Su began composing his official report. The document would become one of the most important in Imperial history. It would describe the first time the Vorthan Empire had encountered a truly superior civilization, and it would recommend a complete change in Imperial policy. No more random conquests, no more assumptions about primitive species. The galaxy had just become a much more dangerous and mysterious place, but it had also become a place where mercy and wisdom might triumph over. Force Admiral Kaiyan Su sealed his report and transmitted it ahead to Imperial Command. Soon the High Council would have to decide whether the Empire would learn from this defeat or whether they would continue down the path that had brought them to this humbling. As he looked out at the stars, Admiral Kaiyan Su realized that the first time they had seen a Terran warship would indeed be the last time. Not because the humans would destroy them, but because the Vorthan Empire would never again underestimate the civilizations they encountered. The humans had taught them a lesson that would echo across galactic history. Sometimes the greatest victory comes not from superior weapons, but from superior wisdom. And sometimes the strongest species are those who choose when not to fight. The galaxy would never be the same, and perhaps that was exactly what it needed.